Hey, Brandon. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey James, thanks for having me.
So you've gone from being CMO at pretty big global brands to founding an AI marketing platform, whilst also being in a rock band, embracing what we could call a quantum reality worldview. And we had a pretty interesting chat about that. How do these seemingly different worlds influence your approach to business growth?
Oh man, what a question! How much time do we got? Um, I don't know. I think honestly, I mean, once you understand how small we really are, I think, and we're just little specks of dust in this limited time here. If we want to start out, we're going to start out deep, right? It kind of creates a sense of urgency to me, anyway. I want to do it all. I want to live forever. I just want to keep going. I want so much to do. So, I mean, with business, art, like risk, kind of creation. Marketing is kind of one of those things. It's one of those expressive trades, but so often it's stuck with limiting beliefs. You get either restricted bosses or corporate paralysis, or just we kind of get in our own heads. And I think things. You mentioned the rock band. Funny, I never sang before in my entire life, but my first gig as a lead singer was in front of 2,500 people. And I kind of always take my life as you only grow through discomfort. And neuroplasticity kind of kicks in when you try something like crazy. And I think that failure is how we learn. And marketing to me is all about failure. Unfortunately, sometimes you got to fail on other people's dime. So, and it's painful. But AI is kind of the next wave. I mean, I'm kind of just jumping on this. I mean, I missed the .com boom. I was trying. I missed crypto. Thankfully, I missed NFTs. But I'm definitely not missing AI. And I think AI is definitely it's changing the world. I mean, and we're trying to put our business on the edge of that shift. But as far as the quantum worldview, I think yeah, that's a totally different podcast. But let's go for it, man. I love it because it's the name of the podcast, right? But it's about kind of I think what you and I talk about is about seeing everything in this worldview, like seeing everything is connected, and you kind of get in this sort of flow state. And I think as an entrepreneur, you don't want to go too high, you don't want to go too low. You just got to keep moving forward. Life to me, life's not supposed to be easy. And that's just my mantra. I think this is not. So when it is hard, you're like, oh, it's supposed to be hard. I mean, we're not playing Rainbow Six Siege on beginner mode because that'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it? I mean, we would just be like, you'd play once and be like, oh, yeah, that was dumb. So I want it to be hard and I want to keep moving. But I believe once you accept that it's hard and you move forward with optimism, you sort of unlock a new gear. And I think that's where I feel like I'm in that kind of quantum reality, or that my favorite TV show used to be Quantum Leap. So we'll call it that.
Yeah, and you've you also said to me you follow the breadcrumbs of the word quantum. It almost nudges from the universe. If something if there's quantum in the name, and that's kind of why you're on this podcast. It kind of just your ears prick up because you're following some universal nudges that are directing you down that path.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, there's a club that just opened, and I'm down in the I guess the suburbs of London, down about 45 minutes southeast of London, and a place opened up called Club Quantum. And I swear, ever since that place showed up, my life has changed in a very different way, like very positive. I go there at work. I've made some new friends. I've met some really important people in my life, and so the word quantum, I was like, man, this place just feels like it's in a world of its own, And then your podcast came along, and I was like, that's a podcast I need to be on. So, and then my show, that Quantum Leap. So quantum to me, I mean, it can mean all sorts of things, but like I'm not an astrophysicist or a metaphysicist or anything, but to me, it just means like kind of a spiritual connection, place we can go. I watch that TV show Everywhere and Everything, where it's just like we're living in different dimensions. And yeah, man, it's just it's crazy. And there's so many weird coincidences. And I think that the funny quote I heard more, it might have been Mark Zuckerberg said, "We are more likely in an AI simulation than we're not." So you keep that you keep that in mind. And as we build, all these things kind of go through my head on a daily basis, and it sort of changes the way I think about building business for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny because I'm right there with you, and that's partly why I call my podcast Quantum Growth because of the quantum reality, the paradigm shift. And I had this paradigm shift it was about 5 years ago, where I was always searching for the truth, searching for answers when it came to, just life being more than just, what popular consensus might have you believe about, the Darwinian theory of evolution, which is all about survival of the fittest, and we're here just through random genetic mutations. Everything just randomly aligned to this like incredibly harmonious world that we live in. It just never made sense to me. And the Newtonian paradigm, you know, that there's just this physical matter reality and everything's happening to us. And then I just started to see these like messages where it's about the quantum reality, where your consciousness creates reality and it reflects back to you. Your inner consciousness reflects back from the outer world. And it just all fascinated me. And I was kind of in a similar path to you. I was just following these breadcrumbs for what was taking me down to truths that I sought out for a long time. And yeah, it's been a very fascinating journey so far. So I do share some pretty woo woo but interesting and applied to science. You know, that you'll get like Tom Campbell, who's you know, really, he was on Joe Rogan podcast actually recently, and he's a scientist. Like he you know, really into like engineering, a really scientific left brain thinker, but also he applies that science to this quantum reality paradigm, and I just find it really fascinating. But yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's so. I mean, you said one word. First of all, it's a journey, right? And we'll never know the answers. But I love. I think there's certain kinds of people, and I don't know. I mean, I know what kind of person I am, and I'm on this quest, whether to find answers. I'm on this kind of always move forward. I'm like the dog on the lead that just keeps pulling because I just want to get there, you know. And I think keep moving. I don't know if we'll ever know all the answers, but we're definitely starting to discover more answers. I think that the only conspiracy theory now that I believe in is you're a conspiracy if you actually don't believe in conspiracy theories. Because, you know, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but there's some that you're like, that's a little odd. You know, like that doesn't, you know, like, you know, look at the pyramids and you look at, you know, now they found these coils as high as the Eiffel Tower below the pyramids and the electricity they might have generated. And now the Anuki tribes were supposed to be 12 feet tall monsters, and they're finding bones in them. And, you know, who knows what to believe and what not to believe, but it just makes you question. You know, you talk about Darwin's theory, and, you know, we'll go to, you know, the Bible has all sorts of its own interpretations. Darwin has his own interpretations. The Anukis and the Egyptians, all these things. You're like, what is all this stuff, man? And that's why you sort of like take a step back and go, okay, all of this is cool. There's some amazing things happening. And we are like the Ouroboros, like we are the lizard that keeps eating its tail. And we like everything just keeps repeating itself. I think when you get into that moment, you're like, okay, well, okay. I in one of my songs, I would say like, we've been here before. And I don't mean that like that's not amnesia, or not amnesia. It's not deja vu. That's, we have been here before. We've all done this stuff before. And, you know, and I feel like, I mean, really get metaphysical. I feel like, I don't know, my life. I mean, some people say, oh, I feel like I know my past lives. Some people say they know this. Some people say they don't, they just believe in this one stop. I kind of feel like I've just always been here. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I feel like I've always been here, and I'm just sort of like on this journey, and we're all just kind of stardust moving. So yeah, I don't know if it's definitely, some people will say it's woo woo. And I always think, like, I meet people, I'm like, okay, do they think like this or do they not think like this? And so, you know, it's like, you got to kind of, and usually more often than not, as you talk to them a bit more, you're like, oh, you do think like this. And then you start getting into it. So if you bring it up, all of a sudden you're like, wait, we all think like this, but we're too afraid to talk about it because we don't want to be labeled woo woo. But if you can't believe in something more spiritually connected or universally, like the neurons in our brains and how they kind of extend a little bit, neuroscience says they now extend out of our skulls about 6 inches or so, you know, and I'm sure I can be fact checking on this, but, you know, which shows that we have the ability for telepathy. We just don't know how to use it. Like, there's so many just weird things going on in this world, you know, and I always talk about people who joke around. I'm like, we do marketing, you know, like we talk about marketing. We're like, well, it's just like all of this. I mean, this abundant world, you got to do things, and you got to kind of find this balance between, I guess, capitalism and connected to the universe. And you know, we've got to make money, but we've got to do things good. So we're just finding that balance. And, you know, marketing, you know, tie it all back in. Marketing for me is the place that helps me do all those connected things. Let you be creative, let you focus on data and all that. So it's, yeah, man. I mean, we could talk for days on this.
It's interesting that you bring that back to marketing because, yeah, that's the whole reason why. Because my background is marketing, you know, marketing, sales, but in particularly just going deep, like putting campaigns together, getting super creative, and I just feel like that's the magician in me, and it's that magic quantum type. You know, it's the same energy that, you know, sent me on that quest of searching down a different path. That's, yeah, just a bit contrarian, a bit different. And then, yeah, it's funny how you mentioned once you do like just send just one thing that you might say to somebody, and then it reflects back, and it's like, wow, you do believe that. Wow, and then it opens up a whole crazy conversation. I think that's kind of what happened with us. I can't actually remember what the specific thing was, but yeah, it was funny.
You just say, you get lizard people vibes. I was like, oh, you're one of them too. I love that theory. They think we're all lizards. And the Men in Black theory, like the aliens are among us. Like those things are funny. I mean, at some point, you got to say, you can either argue it or not argue, but say, how do we know? We never know. I mean, it's kind of fun to think like maybe like, Men in Black are walking around and, or we're lizard people. I mean, I have no proof, and I could never believe that unless I have to see scientific proof, but it is fun to believe in that stuff. In the meantime, we'll just do pay-per-click campaigns and run some display ads, so.
For sure. Yeah. So with ViVV LABS, you're solving, a big marketing challenge that you said frustrated you for many years as a CMO. And every other CMO that you ever spoke to had that same challenge, frustration. What was the pivotal moment when you realized I need to build a solution myself?
Yeah, I love telling this story because it's so personal and it's such a true story. Like I just like it, my second role as a CMO, I finally, you spend your whole career kind of like dancing around, and I've always taken my career sort of as an education. I want to learn. Like people take jobs because like, oh, I want to work my way up the company and make lots of money. I'm like, I want to learn how this company actually does what they do, and so I sort of kept moving up, and I was always like, I'd love to be a CMO because I want to be able to put my own ideas and my own thoughts into things. So I finally got that role, and some people took a chance on me, and I was like, okay, cool. I had an agency, I had budget, I had all these things, and I kept fundamentally asking my agency this fundamental question over and over again, and I never really got the answer I wanted. The answer that I was looking for was, how do you know that you're spending the right amount of money across all these channels? Now I get it. I get, Facebook, your programmatic, Google search, those budgets, and the outcomes. And then started thinking about, what if I wanted to do, a brand campaign, or I wanted to do, grow my followers or do some things. And then the thing started falling down a little bit. So I started asking the agency, and I'd just get scatter charts and plots and graphs and really, smart, responses. I'm like, but I at the end of the day, when I started asking, they still don't know, right? They still didn't know. Marketing seems to always start with, what's your budget? And then, there's optimization stuff, but it's like post-campaign analysis, look back on what we learned, and then think about how we do it better the next time. And I'm thinking, well, the next time, there might not be a next time if we don't do it well this time. So I really wanted to start looking at how do I spend across all these different channels. And I just couldn't find the tool. I mean, data scientists are hard and expensive. They work at agencies, or you got to hire one. And MMM is mixed market modeling is really hard too, because you got to have a model and take a 2 or 3 year plan and start looking at things. And you need someone who knows how to do that. So the options that I saw were either too expensive or too complex. So I just started asking lots of CMOs. I had probably 100 interviews at this point, and asking them, are you confident you're spending the right money across every channel? And most of them admitted that they were sort of guessing. Most of them said they were looking at either bottom-up planning, where they learn from the specialist, like say their search team says, hey, I need X amount of budget, or their social media person says, I need this budget. And then you go, okay, well, everybody needs this, and then you kind of come back and say, here's what you're getting. Or the other way is where your CFO or your board says, here's your budget, make things happen, and then you just kind of top down and plan it. And there was never really that data science layer, especially at mid-market. Enterprise, Unilever, P&G, they have data scientists, but we didn't have data scientists accessible. And so the data scientists are usually someone who knew how to run a spreadsheet. So that, so I really wanted to build something that didn't require a black box. You didn't need to hire someone who can run it. And I just needed some clarity, not only clarity and performance, but I also wanted confidence to know that I knew that I was doing the right stuff. And that confidence is a huge piece. But I wish I had this years ago.
Yeah, fascinating. And also, you kind of said you've been through the .com bubble, kind of missed the opportunity. Same with crypto, and then now with AI, like that's got to be a motivating factor to like jump in with 2 feet and just solve this problem that you see in marketing, combined with this transformative technology, and really ride that wave.
Yeah, anyone who says AI is now a fad, generative AI and the things that we hear, there's definitely some fad elements to it, but AI has been around for what, 10, 15 years. People have been coding with AI for a long time. There's lots of things. I remember, I'm not like, I'm not going to say I was an AI before AI, but I did read the BlackBerry, the Palm Pilot book, but about maybe 10 years ago. I remember he said, we're all AI. Like when you take a shower, you do the same patterns. And I still think every time I take a shower, I'm like, I do the same pattern every time, like how to learn, how to change your brain is actually do it differently, brush your teeth with your left hand or do things. So AI has always been sort of a part. But as AdTech kind of evolved, AI started opening up possibilities of things like, wait a minute, now the things that we couldn't do before are now possible. And I started seeing these. So this problem I had, I wanted to solve, but I couldn't really figure out how to solve it. And then I met I met our CTO and just said, this is what I'm trying to do. He's like, oh yeah, machine learning will do that and this and this. So put some smart people around the room and I got the problem. I know what I needed to do. And then they were able to come in and solve it. So I think having that ability to do this is huge, and I think, yeah, you talk about fads like, blockchain. Blockchain's an interesting one. I mean, everyone's like, oh, blockchain. Crypto is the first use of blockchain. So it's like a real world use case. I think bring the word, was it now, quantum computing is going to risk that. I don't know why no one's talking about it, but maybe I'm like, I'm not a deep techie like that, but quantum computing is supposed to make blockchain irrelevant because now it can process at such a higher speed. So basically crypto will be, completely pointless at some point, but that's another topic. And I'm not an expert. So, but I mean, technology is moving fast. And I just think the things that we can do now in marketing, I mean, multiple data points, an enormous amount of things to understand, customer data, first party data, third party data, multiple platforms, multiple touch points. I mean, we can really overcomplicate marketing to a level that is just so much. And this, machine learning AI will actually come in and go, okay, we can make sense of really messy data and clean things up. So I think we're on the forefront of this and moving very fast. I think there's a lot of people that are thinking, oh, I'll just use like a ChatGPT wrapper, or I'll use something for marketing. And I don't think anyone who's spending any amount of money from 10 grand to 2 million a month is going to trust hallucinations in AI. So the data integrity, ethical data, all of those things are really important. And these things are really hard to do. And so that's what we've been building the last year and a half, is making sure that we've got the foundational ethical AI or ethical data, and then being able to put that to the use. And I think there's going to be a bit of a bloodbath over the next few years. Everyone's saying, oh, marketing AI, great. And I think a lot of people are going to go, oops, that didn't work the way we thought it. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a massive learning curve, and then we'll get back on track. And people go, oh, okay, you have to still pay attention to the fundamentals. But it's definitely a wave. I think AI is going to change marketing forever. AI is going to change medicine. It's going to change how we build airplanes, how we build pharmaceuticals. It's going to change how we build bridges and buildings. It's going to change everything. And I think marketing is just going to follow suit in that trend.
Mm. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, looking at like how I've changed, like how I operate on a day-to-day basis, like I incorporate AI for just so many things. It's basically my co-creator, my co-pilot with so many things that I do that, yeah, marketing was almost one of the first things that it changed in the workplace, because of how easy it is to put the ideation of campaigns and like putting emails together and that sort of thing. That you still need to know what good looks like, the output. You can't just say, oh yeah, just, ChatGPT write me a sales page. But man, the process now, it's just so fun, so much fun. It's so much fun to create stuff and be creative and get that whole ideation coming out. Yeah, for sure.
100%. I think AI is going to really impact massive, large corporations. You're going to see massive job losses. They're going to find efficiencies. I think the big companies that have 200,000-300,000 people that work for them are probably going to be cut in half, right? I think the impact, societal impact, and efficiency impact is going to be intense, like crazy. But I think for like small companies, like your company and our company, and I mean, there's going to be billion-dollar companies that have 4-5 employees now, and that wouldn't have been possible before. So I think the advantage is definitely on smaller companies, and it's going to be great because I think we can do more with less now. We can actually, I mean, like you said, the cold start. I mean, you can write a blog post in seconds. Yeah, you can go back through and humanize it and do the things you want to do, or you can get thought process. You can organize a business case. You can analyze things. You can do deep research, and those were big company things, right? To be able to use deep research on a tool or watch a video now, pull a transcript, say, tell me what it says, and then write me something about this, and be like, and then like those things are incredibly useful for small companies. So I really think you're going to see these small companies leapfrog. I think there's widespread panic, and I think the panic is I'd panic if I worked at the government. I would panic if I worked at Unilever. I would panic if I worked at McKinsey Consulting. I just don't know how big consultants are able to get away with charging $2 million a day or whatever they charge to do like analyze your business now. Because now you just be like, here's my business, here's my you do something crazy now. Go into ChatGPT and put now you understand, you memorized all my thoughts. Tell me where my weaknesses are, and it'll. I was like, whoa! Now it nailed 5 weaknesses. Like, yeah, these are things I need to focus on. So I think for small companies, this is going to revolutionize, and we're going to grow. The economy is going to grow. Everything's going to expand. We're just not going to hire a ton of people. So if I'm at a company of 200,000 people, I would go start my own business in AI and be a company of 1 to 5 people, and I could probably make an impact and do better. So I'm not totally dystopian. The world's over, universal basic income, but I'm very pro AI, but I'm not if you're a big company. I think you're in big trouble.
I absolutely agree. It's it almost exposes the inefficiencies, the people that have just been hiding behind titles and that sort of thing, and leapfrogging the scrappy entrepreneurs and the opportunists that are there, which I do feel like I'm one of them, and it excites me. The future excites me. The ability to create and be innovative. Yeah, we're in a great time.
Companies like companies like Fiverr probably in big trouble. I used to do Fiverr all the time, right? Big, quick design work, quick blog write, quick this, quick that. That's gone. I just don't see. I don't see Fiverr being like, not to call it companies, but like that kind of gig economy is in trouble. I think designers, like low level designers, are in trouble. I watched an Instagram guy who does album covers. He's like, well, that my company's done it. He's just watched the last 6 months, right? And I think. I just think you got to kind of see, and Sam Altman talks about too, is you got to see where ChatGPT is going, and then make sure you're going with it in a direction that they can't kind of compete. And for me, I think like, I mean, marketing is $1 trillion, or soon to be $1 trillion industry. There is no winner take all, and black boxes will not work, right? It's just not going to happen. So, and marketers will always want to win, right? So if there's one winner take all solution and everyone's doing marketing in that, it's going to be bland. It's going to be my other co-founder always call it milk toast. I don't use the word, but it's going to be, and I think that's where AI is going to get a little bit, if everyone starts doing the same thing. And I think you have to find a way to zig when everyone's zagging. Like when you're doing a podcast, I mean, this is not new. You can do it better now. You can do editing, you can do questions, you can do all these things so much faster that your overhead, like the things that used to be limiting, or you might have had to hire someone on Fiverr to do the editing before, do your sound and all those things. And now we can do these things. I think it's incredible. I can't wait to just watch it all unfold. But I mean, marketing for me, we know that we're really good at marketing. We're programming in our heuristics into our technology, and heuristics, everyone says the new phrase is human in the loop, right? But our heuristics going into this are things that you can't compete with, right? And you'll have your own, not you, but you can have your own heuristics and your own way of doing things, and that's cool. But we believe that our heuristics are going to be better. So I think that's how AI is going to start separating itself. It's like, cool, we got AI, we got heuristics, and we got a way to do it, and we're going to help you beat the competition. And if you can do that, I think there's always going to be a place for marketing tech.
It's an interesting thought experiment about, like you say, heuristics, which by my definition is like almost decision-making shortcuts, that you've kind of maybe wired into your own brain through repetition of like habits. And you make, so, the more experience you have in something, the faster you can make decisions. And that's kind of, it's a collection of heuristics. And it's an interesting thought experiment too. And I'm not a mathematician, but this physical reality is numbers and mathematics, and how your mind and make decisions, like so much of it can be mathematical equations, and designing those into decision heuristics that computers can do. It's fascinating to think that, decisions that humans make that you would never even believe that AI can do the same, probably can,
Yeah, I saw a documentary the other day. It said the shape of the Buddha shape with I think it's the young Buddha, not the big Buddha. I think I don't want to insult anyone, but it is actually a mathematical equation shape. So this guy's theory was like, it's not a Buddha. It's not a representation of a person or a deity. It's a representation of an equation that is the universal equation that solves the code. And so in a sense, it's still the Buddha and it's still this kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, math and numbers, and I'm not a mathematician either, but I definitely see that, when you zoom in that Fibonacci code. And I like when you eat like asparagus or you eat the food, and you're like, wow, this is like broccoli. And you're like, or the pattern on the back of a turtle is the same pattern on a leopard. And you're like, there's too many similarities here. This is, so yeah, it's definitely a crazy world, man. And I think we'll be on the path, and AI is going to help us solve that. I think Stephen Hawking's died trying to solve the theory of everything. I mean, the way we can process data now you get quantum computing and machine learning. I mean, we are just like on the cusp of just like, and maybe we don't want to know the answers, but we're on the cusp of finding things, and we're like, oops. And I'll be in the corner and be like, yeah, but what about your marketing campaign? You want to make sure that you're still getting the attention and getting the people, And people are like, yeah, we're trying to figure out, why our uncle has green blood or something, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, it's a fascinating world, man. So like me, I kind of think and play in this space in my mind over here, but then also you got to stay grounded in reality and just keep doing these. So to me, this is fun, but also serious. But it is back to that kind of like knowing that there's more to this, right? Knowing that there's no way we were just born and then we just die. Like that to me would be like unlikely, right? Like, so, and the other thought is like, I know we all here have a purpose, but I don't think we know our purpose until we die. So people who stress about like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? I don't think you'll ever know your purpose. So you just sit there and you go, okay, cool. I know I have a purpose, but I'm not going to know it until I die. So I might as well just keep going and doing things, right? And I think that sort of gives a little bit of like comfort to people. Like if you lost like a younger child or something, like, why did you can say, why did you take this 5-year-old from us? And you're like, well, actually that 5-year-old had a purpose, and once that purpose was solved, the 5-year-old moved on. And it's such a comforting way to think about it. Like it moves you from anger to like, actually, wait a minute, cool. We all have a purpose, and we don't know how long we'll be here. By the way, I'll be here until I'm 120. That's what I've been told, but that's a different story. But yeah, like I know I'm going off on a tangent, but like that to me is like when we start thinking about, okay, I'm not stressed about my purpose. I know I got great things to do. I want to make an impact on the world. I want to do some cool stuff, and I want to be in a place. I might as well enjoy it, right? I'm having the best time of my life. I've turned 52 this year. I'm turning 52, and I gotta say, man, this is. I know you have this question in mind coming. Maybe you don't, but every decade of my life has been a better decade. Every year I get older has been a better year, and I'm just so excited. Like right now, I'm just like, man, this is the most exciting thing. I mean, it's funny. A lot of founders. I mean, the founders you hear about on the front page, you sell their companies for hundreds of millions. The 22-year-old whiz kids. That's not as common. Like entrepreneurial founders are usually in their 50s. And why? I mean, famously, Steve Jobs was pretty old, right? Like KFC was old. Like all these stories of people. And the question is why? And I do believe it's because you start realizing we're here for something bigger. You start stressing less. And back to that, what I was talking about, you're not going up and down as much, and being connected to that universe in a way makes you go, okay, this is important, but it's not the most important thing. But it's also a bit of a game, and you just got to keep going. And I think that's why founders are a bit older and they have that kind of that mindset makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It's very interesting to talk about, what is your purpose? And I do believe we all have the same very like broad purpose, which is to learn and grow through ever more challenging circumstances. And it's, that's like a spiritual evolution, an emotional maturity evolution to become more loving and less fearful, both individually and collectively. And that's kind of the purpose of our journey. But yeah, that shows up in totally different ways individually, and then what's your personal purpose, your individual mission this time around on this planet or in this reality. And it's fascinating. And that's why I do believe, things happen. I don't believe that, everything happens for a reason and it's all pre-calculated and you live your life. You're almost co-creating with whatever that, whatever your soul or whatever that, higher consciousness is, the higher version of yourself that you're evolving into. And you're kind of co-creating this reality, and things happen for you to learn, so you have major setbacks, like crazy things that happen in your life. And if you don't learn what it is that you were supposed to learn in that moment, it almost comes back to like when you say things repeat themselves. I think you'll send that lesson again, and it could be, even louder, even more powerful to learn the lesson that you didn't learn the first time, because your ego might be blocking you. And then, I'd be interested to listen to your song. I don't know if your song's like kind of about that, the repeating cycles, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. I mean, I always say to people, like, one mantra I always kind of keep in mind. I've got my own kind of personal mantra, but this one is like, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think, if you're a tree, if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're anything in life, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think as humans, I think in relationships too, like there's always two people. If someone's growing, someone's not. Like that's how everything just kind of like there's certain people that have that agency, like moving forward and going. And I just believe, if you're not growing, you're dying. So you mentioned one of my rock songs. Is that the songs I write? Because I love writing songs. I write a lot of poetry just because I've been writing poetry since I was like a kid. And I mean, my most recent, I wrote a song called "Immortal Drifter," and it was just like it was a conversation about like being immortal and and put the guns down. It's time to fly, and all. It's like just kind of this concept of it says the concept of space and time doesn't exist. It's all in your mind. But yeah, that immortal drifter is kind of how I've always felt. I just feel like when I was a kid, I used to walk barefoot in the desert, and I thought I pretended I was. I think his name is David Kane from Kung Fu, and I was like, I'm just like a drifter. I don't know if you remember, that TV show was from the 70s, but I would just walk around and be like, I feel like a drifter. So I'm just like an immortal drifter, and I've got a lot to do, and I don't know how much time I got to do it, but my tombstone's gonna say he did it or he died trying. So, and then I've given my son, he's gonna have to have a chisel and just like scratch one of them out. That's the plan.
So I mean, you've told me previously you've faced some or experienced some pretty major setbacks, and lost it all like multiple times in your business journey.
What about multiple? Yeah, I've had some. It sounds like I'm like, yeah, it's been crazy, man. I think we've all had setbacks, and so I think everyone, yeah, it's been crazy, man. I think I came out of the gate pretty early with like 4 partners when I was in my 20s, and we built a business, and we got. I think when you get success quick, it's not a good thing, right? So, but a lot of people do get success quick, and that's cool, and congratulations to them. And some of them keep it, some of them don't. So it's all, we're all on our own journey, especially financially or the entrepreneurial journey. Look at my dad's journey. He was an entrepreneur and he lost his business. Then he found a business and he lost his business. My grandpa Al built a catering business, and he was great. And then when he died, the business collapsed because it was like he was the glue. So you just see how fragile business is, but you also, and I think never get comfortable where you're at. So I started out quite early, got 4 partners, built a business, caught a great wave in finance. I mean, the markets were hot. It was all good. And then it dipped. 2 partners were like, okay, we're out. Me and my other partner were like, let's just tough it out. So we rode the storm, and maybe about 2 years of just dead broke, living off credit cards. And then the market came back, and then about 10 years we had a great business, and it was we were killing it. We had about 60 people working for us. I ran a telemarketing room. We were humming, man. And then we got acquired by a larger the largest financially backed bank in America. And they decided to be the first ones to go out of business in the collapse. They had $1 billion line of credit, and that disappeared. And overnight, I lost everything. And we had the money in the bank. We had, we were doing property development, everything. I was like, whoa! It was like, and I used to tell people like, if a black hole opens up and we all follow in the earth, that's the only way I'm going to lose it. Well, that wasn't necessarily true. So huge moment of reflection and going, okay, what is this? And what I learned from that is I wasn't living my most aligned life. I was living a life that I needed money, and I loved money, and I wanted all the cool things that money gave me. I had the motorcycle, I had the off-road vehicle, the second home. I had all those things, and I loved it. It was cool, But I didn't really like my job. I remember just every day I was like, I just didn't like what I did. And people who knew me would attest to it. It was like, I just didn't like the stress. I don't know. I didn't feel like I was doing much good. It was just, we were doing insurance, we were doing mortgages, we were doing like finance, and some people find that rewarding. I was just super bored with it. So finding that alignment in your life is really important. I think I'm finally finally in full alignment with my life. But after that, I went and worked in corporate world. So I went to a company called BuzzFeed. So you heard about, I'm sure you heard about them. And I really went to BuzzFeed because I wanted to learn what BuzzFeed did. I worked at a boutique search company called The Searchworks, and I joined there. And right when I joined, they got acquired. So I was too late to that. Then I got moved to AOL, and I had a great run there and made a lot of great friends at ad.com. Ended up at BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed was cool. Now, this is not my fault, but when I was at BuzzFeed, it was worth about 1.3 billion, and now I think BuzzFeed's worth about 50 million. Or I think they're making a comeback now. But I'm not the reason they dropped, but they dropped. But then I wanted to go on the entrepreneur journey. Like after that, I was like, I'm going to start an entrepreneurial journey. And I was like, I'm seeing people making money from startups all over the place. So I joined a startup and built a sales team, got them to about 250,000 in MRR, which is great. I mean, we were killing it. And then they came in and laid off the entire team and said, sorry, guys, we don't need you anymore. And to make a long story short, they sold the company 6 months after that because they knew they were selling. So they kind of put everyone in a position and took everyone's equity. So it was a little unfortunate.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's just like you realize if you're not on the founding team and you've got equity and you're just like an employee, you're probably not as important as this. So they cut down, they sell for a higher price, and then everyone makes lots of money, but the team along with the ride doesn't.
Wow.
Then I went to work as a CMO, and this was kind of unfortunate. We got acquired. We were getting acquired for a large sum, and I was like, oh my god, I've done it, I made it. This is cool. We're on our way, and we're working towards something really cool. And then the market kind of shifted, and that acquisition got halved in price. And we're like, okay, we can still manage. And then it went to zero, and everyone was like, oh, that didn't work out so well. So that was quite an emotional roller coaster. So having that, so losing my own business early, taking a couple stabs at some startups, and then just getting at the point where you're like, well, the rug gets just pulled out from underneath you, is how I got to the journey now. I'm like, you know what? The only way you can actually be successful in a startup, and this is my own opinion, I'm sure there's other people, and there's other people that have proof points that the other way is right. But the only way I can be in a startup is I got to be on the founding team, and I got to be in charge of I got to be driving the boat, not necessarily steering the wheel because there's other people in my boat and we're all driving together, but having the right people in the boat and moving that boat in the right direction and really passionately believing it. And that to me is the most important thing, to have control. So you live and die by your own failure or success, but I don't want anyone to be in a room making decisions on my behalf for my family's future. Like they get an offer for, a $200 million acquisition offer. They say, no, make it 300. And you go, what? And then they walk away from the deal and you're like, wait a minute, did that just happen? So it's a very fragile world in business. And once you learn that, and I'm a very positive person, but the art of war is relevant. Like there is combat in business. And the fragility, it is very fragile. Like, you got to just make every decision you make is important. Everything you do is important. Every day you wake up and everything moving forward is important. If I take a day off, the business takes like 10 steps back. So we just keep moving forward. I'm finding great founders. I've got a couple, Dan and Nicola are just incredible founders. And we're just moving forward, man. Agency is my word. I love the word agency.
For sure. Yeah, agency is, I totally agree. Agency and I also love the word sovereignty, like your individual sovereignty.
I got to say, I haven't used that word in a while, but I love that word.
Yeah.
Being a sovereign business, that should tell people when they're raising funds and they give away board seats to VCs and you give away your sovereignty.
For sure. So you mentioned about the collapse of the ad tech world, and how did that collapse? How did the tech world collapse under its own weight? And what did you learn from being on the inside?
I mean, wow, I'll get a lot of people say, "What collapse of the ad tech world?" But look, I don't know. Controversial statement. And I was a digital director at CNN. So, and I don't know if we're better off with digital. I mean, digital came in as the savior to all marketing, right? So like, if you can't measure it, it's not marketing. And I think, well, that's not really true, is it? So digital marketers came in evangelizing that you need tech, you need measurement, you need tracking, you need this, you need that. And then all of a sudden marketers found themselves with layers and layers and layers of ad tech. So next thing you know, you got the funniest one for me is you've got fraud verification tools. Those are a very expensive layer for some big brands, but we still have the same amount of fraud as we did before. So they haven't fixed fraud. Yeah, they fixed the way you buy it, but I mean, there's like, it's like kind of like virus scan on your computer. The only way they stay in business is if there's actual viruses. So it's like you can go down that wormhole and say, well, maybe they were the ones creating viruses. That's what John McAfee said. But anyway, like, I don't know if ad tech or digital solved much of the problem. And the age-old adage of Wanamaker said, 50% of my marketing works. I just don't know which. I just don't know which half. Right? You know that quote. Half my marketing works. I'm just not sure which half. That's still true. And I think digital attribution. I've been on stage talking about digital attribution my whole career, like saying this is the way. Attribution forward. And I finally got that job as a CMO at the gaming company. I was like, okay, cool. I signed up with Kochava, and we spent 3 months trying to solve it. And I realized I had 35% accuracy on what I was trying to do. Now, we were a unique case, but still, I mean, 65% of it was still a model, a probabilistic model, and I could never get it to this deterministic point. So the cost of that was 15 grand a month. I could have just taken that money and just put that into more media spend. Yeah, there might be some fraud. There might be some things go wrong. And I bet you I would have done as well, if not better. So the question is, did the ad tech make me better? Right? In some cases, yes. In certain ways, yeah. I mean, but you got SEO ad tech. You got things like that. They don't know the algorithm. They're just constantly selling you upsells and upsells because there's best guess and there's proof points. And I'm not gonna poo-poo on every single ad tech, but I think by the time you look at all your layers and you've got 20 layers of tech, and you're going, my marketing's still not working, you should ask yourself, maybe I should strip some of this back, right? And I think marketers sort of shifted. We became data-oriented marketers, so the cool creatives sort of got pushed out, or the cool creatives had to become data people. And so like this kind of shift, and I'm not sure that shift worked. Right? You can't make a creative a quant, and you can't make a quant a creative, right? So you have to find a balance in there that, and I think, and marketers need to be generalists. You have to know everything. You got to know about affiliate. You got to know about social. You got to know about paid. You got to know about search. You got to know about display. You got to know about brand. Like, so you bring people in and specialists, but you do need to understand all those things. And I think ad tech sort of found this one little wormhole. Like they say, okay, we're going to focus on digital, and then programmatic. Programmatic was the thing. Always my worst performer, programmatic. But like, if you ask yourself, does anyone like display ads? The answer is no, right? Like, so we're doing something wrong. If people, there's ways to do things better. So I just think, I'm not totally sure that ad tech and the layers of tech, and I'm watching things now launch, like, these publisher supply side platforms. And then you've got new layers of curation and all the, and there's validity in it, but they're not that important. Like at the end of the day, they're just small layers of cost, So for us, building Viv, a 24-hour data scientist, was important, keeping that cost way down. And I believe that you could really eliminate a lot of the tech that you're using and to use just a small layer, and it'd be a lot more cost efficient, and you're probably going to do better than you're doing now. And that's kind of our mantra, our mission. That's what we're trying to solve.
Yeah, very cool. Why is attribution still broken? Like, even with all the tech that we have today, I know you kind of touched on that, but why is it still broken?
We were getting close on attribution. I mean, it felt like we were making all the right moves, and then we kind of shifted into the wrong direction again. I think you've got walled gardens like Facebook. You got walled gardens like Apple, and Apple made their changes, in April, I think 2022 or something like, and you saw your performance drop off the map, GDPR and the privacy stuff. And Apple just started saying, hey, we're not going to tell you who did it, but we're going to tell you what you got. Facebook and Google are slowly moving to this kind of like 0 point. You're watching it now. It just happened recently. Facebook signed up for the publisher symposium or something where they're now the supply side and the demand side, which means you lose transparency in the middle. So you actually don't know. Your agency could resell your Facebook stuff, and you won't know the real margins you're paying. So we're moving to less transparency, and attribution requires more transparency. We're still stuck on last click as a metric for attribution. That's the only one that works. Yeah, you can do Shapley's value, you can do Markov model, you can do other things and touch points, but they're still not that good, especially when you start moving outside of things that are not tracked, right? So you're only going to be at 30, 35%, and it's going to be, deterministic. So I think attribution is still going to be a challenge, and it will work for brands. There's brands that do it very well, and usually performance brands, and they've built out their model, and it's the model it's the hill they die on. But there's a misnomer And this is another problem in marketing is comparison is the thief of joy. Like we all look at other people and go, oh, well, they're doing it, then it should work. I should do that. And so you're getting ads after ads that say attribution modeling is the way to go and you'll solve all your problems. And so many people are like, oh, this is the future. So then they jump into it. And then a year later they go, well, that was a complete waste of time. That just didn't work. So there's no silver bullet, but I just think attribution is slowly degrading to a point where it's totally irrelevant. I mean, Facebook, people say, oh, well, programmatic is the place to be, but audiences are still on Facebook. Audiences are still on TikTok. Audiences are still on other places. And yeah, you can do attribution in each one of those, but when you start looking across, you can't frequency cap across multiple platforms. You can't follow an audience from one to another. You can't know if that's sale. You're still going to get double counted, right? So if someone clicks on a TikTok shop ad in their 15-day window, and then they go and buy on Google, then you get counted as two. So you get TikTok and Google both claim the credit. So that's great. Then you got to go in and you got to actually double check it. Next thing you know, you're doing that all the time. And at scale, I just don't think it's useful. So we sort of shifted to this kind of integrated impact modeling. They use it in climate change. It's kind of like if the temperature drops 2 degrees, what happens to the rest of the world? And you say, oh, well, the trees this and the bees die. And then all these things happen, right? So you start looking at the impact of one thing and how it affects everything else. And so we want to look at things like that. The fundamental question when they say, hey, we want to get 20,000 new customers this month. Cool. No problem. That's an easy job. Oh, and we want 100,000 followers on Instagram. You're like, okay, cool. Why? Well, because we want that vanity metric so we can get credibility that can increase sales. You're like, okay, well, we got to model that out because you may not need 100,000. There's probably, so you want to look at having 100,000 followers on Instagram might be good, or maybe having 100,000 followers across all platforms in different ways might be better, or maybe having less people and investing here. So there's other things you can do in that sort of model. So to me, attribution kind of sits in this kind of bottom funnel, like churn based, like this is where it is. And then MMM sits way up here. So we're trying to find a balance between MMM and attribution so you can do real-time useful stuff, measuring impact across all channels. And I think to me, that's the future. And we're sort of prepared. There's 2 futures we're prepared for. And maybe you have a question about the future, but here's my prognosticating on the future. Future 1, digital marketing has become less important. I think humans are going to start leaving platforms, right? I do think Facebook, it's going to be bots and bots and bots, but humans are going to start finding other experiences. They're going to get away from these platforms, right? It's just not, I don't think this is sustainable. This is my opinion. But I do know that marketers will have budget and they always need to sell stuff, right? We can agree, right? People are always going to be selling you stuff, which means they're going to try to be where you are. So James, if you're no longer on digital, if you're no longer on Facebook, right? And too many people we know are like, oh, I'm not on Facebook now. It used to be that was like an anomaly. Now it's like pretty common, right? But you're still going to be somewhere, and I'm still going to need to find you, and I'm still going to need to market to you, but I'm not going to be able to track it in the way that I used to because I don't have a cookie following you around. Yeah, there's a phone following you around, but there's no cookie following you around. So I'm still going to need to measure impact of how I do that. So there's one truth I think is that digital marketing will become less like as people are going to go offline. Maybe it can be argued, but there's still going to be marketing, and we want to build a system that can track digital and also track offline and bring it together and help you measure impact, right? The other prediction would be everything is, even the digital marketing stuff is going to zero, like zero audience. Like people ask me all the time, like, why didn't you put audience targeting or audience segmenting into ViV? I say, cool, because that's not going to be here in 2028, 2029, 2030. Forget about it. Like what you know about audience targeting, gone. Yeah, well, first party data, great, gone. It's all going to be gone, my opinion. But you can't put audience, like soon Facebook will be like, cool, what do you want to do? And you say, I want to sell my widget. They go, cool, we'll do it. We'll let you know how many we sell. We'll get back to you. What's your budget? And that's all you're going to get. So where's the strategic marketing in that? You're like, thanks. And then, Facebook's not going to be like, hey, we've hit our quota. Maybe you should shift that budget over to TikTok now. This is never going to happen. They're creating these mousetraps. They're going to spend exactly what your budget is and do exactly what you want. So as a marketer, you got to know the mousetraps, that the trap is laid, and you got to be able to measure impact across all. Should I spend 10 grand on Facebook, 5 grand on TikTok, and 20 grand on Google? Should I invest in my brand? Should I buy more followers? Should I advertise at the local pub on a coaster? Like, how do I measure impact across all these things? I think that's the future. So if I'm a marketer now, the future I'm sort of preparing for is data zero, but I still have budget and I still need to win. What do I do?
Yeah, you made some pretty important points there, or you're expressing some pretty important views. And talking about the future, so like the way that you see things are going, and you talked about being more offline, and how the future of digital is just kind of fundamentally change. Where does AI actually make marketing better, and where is it just lipstick on a pig?
Great question. There's a lot of lipstick on a pig right now. And I think the scary thing too is, I mean, ChatGPT is destroying marketing businesses every release. I saw one recently. They do, oh, you press a button and it creates all your creatives for you. And you're like, great, that's 25 pounds a month. Well, that business is totally gone now because ChatGPT is like, oh, you can do that here. So like the creative stuff, AI creative is by far going to be incredibly important. I saw like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and Jack Dorsey are fighting for eliminating all IP, intellectual property rights, because AI is just going to be inundated with lawsuits of stealing. And I'm on the side of the artists. I don't know how they're going to solve that problem, but it's going to be a problem. So AI creative for sure, AI copywriting for sure. AI, I mean, it allows us, from a data point, it allows us to process an enormous amount of data and understand it quite quickly, and then throw that data away. So I don't need first-party data or third-party data, because the data comes in, I understand it, I build a machine learning model around it, and I go, cool, I don't need that anymore, and now I can do predictive stuff. So from a data perspective, I think it's going to be huge. Creative, like the basic creative, you're still going to need humans doing really creative things. So I think that pulling away the hard data stuff is going to allow marketers to sort of go and shift and focus on the things that are important. You are still going to have to create a great brand. You're still going to have to connect to an audience. You're still going to have to be empathetic. You're still going to have to like stand for something. There's all of those things that AI can't help you do. It can guide you, but AI is never going to do that. And if everyone's using AI, then no one's going to be standing out. So standing out from a crowd, back to my earlier answer, zigging when everyone's zagging. There's going to be a lot of things AI can do and take time away, right? If I'm a copywriter, I'm probably nervous, or at least I'm there's elements of copywriting that'll still be important. I think if I'm a creative, I'm nervous. AI is going to replace a lot of those things. But for us, we see AI to be able to really deeply understand your data, model it, and give you real recommendations, like tell you what you should be doing next. But I worry, there's one future I worry about in AI is black box marketing and AI. And I was at a conference, was at Advertising Week, and I was at a conference, and they said, oh, we've created this marketing tool. And it's just a language model, and you just ask what to do and it does it. And I'm like, oh my God, first of all, nobody's learning how to do it, and nobody has the knowledge anymore to override what it's doing. So you've now lost that kind of the grad level people that are learning these things, and no one's going to be able to go, hey, maybe we should try this way, because those people will be gone soon. And I sort of, my last thought to this is I kind of thought, okay, imagine a board meeting, and the board, brings the CMO in and says, hey, our numbers are down, we need to do better. And then the CMO goes, well, what do you mean? We use AI for everything. It can't be better. This is what AI says it is. And the board says, well, we don't care. We need to be better. We need more numbers. And then I say, well, but AI is running all the marketing, and it's doing the best it can do because it tells me this is the best it can do. And the board says, cool, we need more numbers. And then what do? AI is already kind of maxed on what it knows and what it can do because it's doing what it does. So the marketer has to go, that's where the thinking outside the box, I don't think that'll ever be replaced, because you'll have a real challenge with your business. You'll have to really think about it and go, oh, okay, actually, maybe I can work on my product, or maybe I can talk to my, get some audience feedback, and I can do some research. I can do these things. I can change my brand. There's so many things that a human will be able to kind of like figure out, test, and learn. Once the human tests and learn, puts it in AI will go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That worked. But there's always going to be someone that needs to push that number for the board. And I think AI is going to have this kind of, I don't know, there's got to be let's coin a phrase. It's got to be a phrase called like, in saturation point, but it'd be like AI peak, AI peak where it can't get any better. I don't know. There's, you know what I mean? There's something in there, but I think there's going to be a point where imagine you're a CMO and you're like, sorry, AI is doing all the work. I mean, you'll just be fired. They'll be like, cool, well, you're fired. And you're like, well, why? AI's doing that. Yeah, well, then we don't need you. We need you to get us out of that kind of AI rut.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the biggest lie marketers are still telling themselves?
Oh man, why are we on this planet? No, I don't know. Biggest lie. It's it's really frustrating because vanity metrics still matter. You know, and I think the lie is not necessarily from the marketers as much as the whole kind of ecosystem of everybody, you know, boards, CEOs, marketers, people below, people under, the ads that are hitting you. Like it's all one big hallucination. Like you're getting your if you're a marketer, you're being targeted by marketers in your Instagram ads. So your Instagram feed is now everyone going, I sold 20,000 times more business using this tool. And you're like, cool, great. Or, you know, now it's AI SDRs. Like you can have an SDR for the price of one. You can have 10 of them for the price of one, and we'll do all your outbound. You're like, cool. That doesn't work. Trust me. I mean, so there's all these lies that like there's a magic bullet that's going to solve your marketing problems. And they think all these things like back to the vanity metrics. Like if I have 1 million followers on Instagram, cool. So my CEO says, hey, I want 1 million followers on Instagram. And I go, cool. Do you want real followers with real engagement, or do you just want followers? And the CEO goes, I don't care. Give me followers. And you're like, cool. I could go buy you 1 million followers that are not going to engage and completely destroy my algorithm, and nothing's going to ever work again. And we're going to have to unpack that. And then we're in a worse position. But you're going to be happy with that because you got 1 million followers. Or do you actually want to grow these things organically, do the hard work, and actually build a community of people that love you? Do you want 10,000 followers that love you and will edify you across the you know, across their circles? Or do you want 1 million followers that are just kind of fake? And sadly, the answer still is, I want those followers. And people are still buying followers. It still happens. And you're like, but you know that totally screws you up. Yeah, but I need that vanity metric because my investors will think it's good and this will think it's good. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, for Viv, we actually don't even have social channels because I'm like, I don't know. Do you want me to go build a TikTok channel and have 200,000 followers on my Viv TikTok channel so then I can tell an investor, look how relevant we are. People love us. And then the investor goes, wow, you guys really are relevant. You're on the site, guys. People must love you. And then I go, haha, I bought all those followers. That is such a, like the vicious circle of lies. And marketers will chase that because they think investors like it, and everyone just goes. So there's this whole like kind of like just this false narrative that surrounds us of people that are just kind of like, you know, that's just one example, but there's more.
Mm. Yeah, that's funny. It's interesting you mentioned, you know, the vanity metrics, and even just going on to, you know, you go on socials, like on the algorithms. I don't tend to scroll tend to scroll walls and stuff, but like if you ever do that as a marketer, like you see all the generic hooks that he use. You know, anybody can go to like ChatGPT now and like give me all the hooks, you know, that work for social media posts, and you just see it like puking up all over your news feed. And even that, you know, it works to get engagement. Like you see how these posts go viral. It works to get that engagement, but like who are you actually attracting there into your audience, into your community? Because they're not like the advanced, like wise people that can just see right through it, you know, that are going to be good quality customers. It's like you're just almost attracting just, I don't know, I don't want to be rude, but it's like, to me, it just looks like mindless zombies, like engaging with posts and that are just sucked into this kind of viral hook type generic stuff that you see out there. And yeah, the quality is crazy.
Yeah, you throw out shit, you get flies, and that's it. And then you sit in these. I've been testing LinkedIn a lot, like LinkedIn magnets, LinkedIn posting, LinkedIn this, and there's so many people that be like, follow my LinkedIn strategy, and you'll get hundreds of thousands of people. Next thing you know, you're like spending 25 hours a week trying to build your LinkedIn, and it's not working. But they made it look like it's working, so they do things like, I could run a LinkedIn magnet post right now, and I could have 3,000 comments on it, and James, you'll be like, wow, that guy's an influencer. People are following him. I could also do a LinkedIn magnet post and get 2 comments, and you're like, wow, that guy's a nobody. Nobody cares. One of them I could put 20 grand budget behind, and one of them I put 0 budget behind, but your opinion of me still stays the same. Wow, that guy's great, or that guy's not. And that's the problem, is you see all these ads on Instagram, and you're like, wow, that ad's really working. And it's not. Like, it's all, we're like, I think marketers are like master illusionists. And the worst people, I used to sell door to door, you know, door to door. And the easiest people to sell to was salespeople. If you ever knocked on a door and someone goes, I used to do door to door sales, you were just like, thanks, you're buying. I know you're buying because you're buying. Like, there's no question about it. Like, and marketers are the same way. Like, oh, this, like, you know, we're all like Labrador retrievers chasing the next great thing, but it's this vicious circle of like, it's that comparison. Don't ever do it. Test yourself, do your own testing, come up with your own answers, and then double down on the success Don't look at anyone else's success. Don't look at their comments. Don't look at their views. Don't even listen to them when they say this was great. Like, just ignore all of it because it's all untrue. And it's certainly not going to be true for you. So just do your own thing. Run a test. Put 100 pounds behind something. Get 3 clicks. Cool. That means 100 pounds. That means, 30, 40 pounds a click. Great. Just keep extrapolating your own data and do your own stuff, because ignore every single thing out there, because Seth Godin wrote his book, All Marketers Are Liars. Guess what? He's not far off.
For sure. And there's some interesting corners of the internet where, like, there's, it's marketers selling marketing to marketers, and they're always like interesting communities to be in.
Oh yeah.
There's some.
Yeah. Just, I love it, man. Salesperson, yeah. It's like if someone's in your industry, they're like, cool, you're in. But yeah, it's that I think we really wanted to build this platform. I mean, Viv is built to kind of cut through all this kind of BS, be a cost-effective 24/7 data scientist that just kind of always guides your decisions and also teaches you. So it's not just the what, but it's the how and the why. And I think those kind of pieces are missing in a lot of ad tech. Is like, just ignore all the noise, put your little blinders on and go, okay, I know what I got to do. And I'm going to find the best path for me. And then I need something with confidence that will continually tell me, hey, you're doing the right thing or you're not doing the right thing. Like, how do I know? Like, how do you ever, as a CMO, it's quite lonely. I mean, as CEO is lonely too. Like, there's no one above you that's going to say you're doing the right stuff. There's no one around you who's going, oh, this is great. You're killing it. Like, there's no attaboys conferences. No one's going, you're amazing. You're just like, God, every day I'm shit. So you need that kind of tech that's going, actually, double down on this, do a little bit more of that, keep going. You're on the right track. Change this, tweak that, do that. And then you find that. And no one on your team will have that insight for you. So you need a piece of tech that you can actually trust and give you that confidence, but also boost your performance. And I don't think marketers are really as worried as much about performance as they are about being relevant and keeping going and keeping new things going. And I think we want to make sure that marketers are performing and are relevant and still, if we save one marketer's job, then I think there's my purpose in life.
If you were building a marketing team from scratch in 2025, what would you do differently?
Yeah, great question. I think it'd be very different, because I mean, knowledge used to be held above. So you'd hire people with experience for specific specialisms, but now knowledge with the ability of generative AI, we have access to information like crazy. So now back to that word agency. I want people with agency, people who are willing to go across disciplines. So specialists, I think, are gone. I think people who are willing to find answers and dig and dig and dig. So those people that are kind of always moving forward. Because I think if you're a person now that's just sitting back and just like being told what your job, waiting for someone to say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? It should be now like, hey, here's a problem. Can we solve it? And they're like, oh, I've already done it. I've actually built out a productivity tool, and this can actually save us, 20 hours a week. And you're like, oh, cool. So I want people that are constantly going, there's a better way, a better way, a better way. And then those kind of people will be light years ahead. So someone who's like, oh, I'm a search specialist. Cool. I don't need a search specialist anymore. I don't need to pay 500 pounds a month to someone to run my Google search. I can spend 2 hours with Gemini or ChatGPT, and it'll tell me exactly what I should be doing. I don't need a creative now. I don't need, like, there's certain roles that I just don't need anymore. My traditional team would have been content writer, social media, organic social media, paid planner buyer, and maybe if I did affiliate, like an affiliate manager or something like that, right? So now I could take that content writer, the social media, and the planner buyer, put them into one, and say, figure it out. Here's the problem. Here's the amount of time we spend on the problem. Go solve. And they'll be like, cool. And within minutes, they'll have a workbook of how to do it. And then within days, they'll have like a formula. And then we can build in processes and be like, cool, there's the best way forward. And I think that's the kind of team I want now, is people who are passionate about marketing, but more passionate about productivity and more passionate about learning and doing things out of the box, because I don't think there's a box anymore. That box is broken.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's a fascinating landscape right now for marketers. I think it's Google that talks about like the T shape. So it's, generalist marketers understand all the different domains of marketing, and then like you go deep on the immediate bottlenecks that are required in the business right now. You go deep on those to solve those bottlenecks. But yeah, you've got to be an all rounder. And marketing, it spans into every aspect of business, right? It's the whole customer journey, not just to the point where you've sold a customer. It's everything thereafter. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject and domain of expertise.
Yeah, I think you're still going to need senior people to say, like, I want people that have, I don't care about age or seniority, but I want people to have that agency and the willingness to say, okay, here's the old process. I can cut 20% time off that. But you're still going to need someone, not necessarily senior, but with experience to make sense. Like, I can go write an affiliate marketing strategy in probably 30 seconds. We can do it right here and be like, cool. And I can show it to you and you'd be like, wow, that's great. And let's do that. But then I can actually look at that and be like, actually, don't do this, tweak that, do this, do that. You still need someone that can say, nope, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? Like, there's still going to be that level of experience required. But so I think those generalists, the people that know a lot of things, will be really valuable. But then I think the people who don't know anything will also be equally as valuable because they'll come at different problems now. You know? So if I spend 2 months training a new hire, we just hired a new hire. He's great. I can't wait to get him started. And you know, it's less about marketing. He has a tech mind. He's kind of the video game mind. Like if we're in a video game, we might as well play a video game. And it's more about like, hey, we're going to train you for the next 30 days. And everything we teach you is likely going to be inefficient. So what I want you to do is not only learn what we're teaching you, but I also on the side want you to build a productivity app to eliminate 80% of what we taught you so then you can make that better. And they're like, cool. So that's the kind of stuff you want to do. Not someone who's go, oh, you're going to take 80% of my job and then I'm going to be fired. No, you want someone to go, cool, eliminate 80% of that job. I got 20%. Where's my other 80 coming from? And then they go, oh, now you can do this. So that's the kind of mindset. It's just like that kind of like abundant mindset as opposed to, you know, and back to the universe stuff. Like having an abundant mindset is the most important thing you can have. And if you just sit back on, we're going to lose our jobs, it's all over. You're exactly right. You're going to lose your job and it's all over. If you're driving a car and you're about to crash into the pole, what's the best thing to do? Don't look at the pole. If you look at the pole, you're going to hit the pole. So if you're worried about losing your job to AI, you're going to lose your job to AI.
100%. It's yeah, I totally agree. It's funny how you said that driving. If you're driving, like, don't hit the pole. I don't know if you ever played golf, but man, if there's ever like a pool of water and someone's like,
find it every time.
You can be every time. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Exactly. The best golfers will be like, what water?
Yeah, exactly.
I hate golf for that reason.
You're from Arizona as well, man. There's some incredible golf courses there.
Yeah, I think it's the golf capital of the world, and I still suck. I tried. I've golfed a lot. I'd rather do, you know, Arizona also has no ocean, but it's got more boats per capita too. So I did a lot of boating. But I did do a lot of golfing, but it's like sitting on the sun in the summertime, hot. But I don't really drink beer and I don't really like golf. So both of those were just like, I just meet people at the 19th hole afterwards. That was always fun. I couldn't get it, man. I just, you know, the repetition of just, I don't know.
I understand you recently had your palm read and you were told you're going to come into some incredible success over the next 12 months.
I didn't know you were going to bring that up. Yeah.
What does success look like for ViVV LABS?
So I got my palm read by a real palm reader, and then I also took a photograph of my palm and put it in the ChatGPT's custom GPT of palm reading. And the real palm reader was in more detail, but the ChatGPT validated what the real palm reader said. So I got more information from the real palm reader. It's not a thing that I ever believed in. I don't even know if I believe in it, but it's cool. Filling your brain with positive thoughts. If anyone's just going to say cool things, and you can be like, oh, but they're always going to say that. It's like, cool, I don't care. She told me my lifeline is enormously long. So, and I asked her if that means I can live to 120. She said, well, I can't guarantee that, but there's definitely a lot of life in you. So why not have that message in my brain? Because now I'll live longer because I know that. She said she saw lots of struggles in my 30s. And I was like, yep. And she saw me moving countries a few times, which also true. So, but then she saw in my 50s more calm. And then coming in about 18 months, there's like a little triangle, which means lots of money's coming. So she said she didn't know if that was family money, but I'm going to show you it's not. Or it's going to be, business money or whatever. But she said she said, you're on the right track. Don't deviate too much from your plan. Don't let anyone throw you off. Stay focused, and it's coming. I mean, so I don't care if you believe in that. That's a great message, right?
For sure. Of course. course, and it's all about the good positive inputs. Of course, it is.
Yeah. So
What does success look like for ViVV Labs? Over the next year or so.
lots of things. I mean, we're so focused, man. Like we're focused on building out the tech. So we've just launched the tech recently. We're focused on the data science and the outputs and the heuristics. We want to grow. We don't want to just grow for the sake of growth. We want to grow with the right customers at the right pace. We want to build things with them and actually build that data science to make sure that it's all, confidence is important. If you roll out something that doesn't work in this market, I think you're in big trouble. So for us, it's getting to that kind of 100% accuracy on the data science piece, which is crucial. I know we'll be at 100% accuracy because there'll always be a human in the loop. So the data science will guide us. The human will always verify, and we'll always be in a place where brands will grow. So, but having 100 customers by the end of the year is a huge milestone for us. Having the data science piece working, we've got a big milestone coming in June, and just keep going, man. Bringing in the right people into our business, and we've got some incredible people that are jumping in. So yeah, it's success for us is kind of that the ideal customers, building the tech in line with those ideal customers, and just keep building. I think you look at a few things. I think in this space, I think venture capital, that kind of money is probably in trouble. I think like B, C, and D rounds are probably too late. So for us, we don't necessarily want to raise. We raise early. I think early investors are going to reap all the rewards now, where it used to be early investors would get kicked out by bigger investors. So for us, it's about making our early investors lots of money and building a business. So you have to look at it two ways: a sustainable business built on the right amount of revenue, built on solid foundations of the data, the team, and the customers. But then also looking ahead, like there might be someone that says, you know what, we missed the boat on this, and we'll come buy you for $6 trillion or something. So I think there's lots of ways. I think startups make the problem is, oh, we're going to build this, and they become build a business to raise money, build a business to exit. We are building a business to build a business. We're solving a problem. And if we need to raise money or if we need to exit, all of those things, you have to kind of keep them in mind. But for us, success is really building a successful business with a solid foundation. And I really believe we're on the right track building those fundamentals.
Yeah, it sounds like some very exciting times ahead.
The pause says it. Look, I'll show you. That's one of my days. This is going to be a great day right there.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Brandon. I really appreciate your insights here, and it was a very, very fascinating conversation. Where can people find out more about you online?
Well, we're at viv.ai, so you can find us there. It's also vivlabs.com if you don't want to punch in the AI piece. So vivlabs.com is where our website is. The contact me comes straight to me, so you can contact me. I'm also on LinkedIn. Don't really do much other social stuff. So, but yeah, would love to connect. I like connecting with marketing people. So if you're a marketing person, drop me a note on LinkedIn. Tell them you heard me on the Quantum Growth podcast, and I don't even care if you're crazy. I'll accept your invite. But if you're a marketer and you're looking for a different way, attribution's failed you, you don't have any money for MMM, but you still want to win, we might have a strategy for you that we think could potentially work depending on what your business is. So we'd love to chat. Be great. Thanks for having me too. It's been awesome, man.
Awesome, Brandon. Really appreciate you being on, and I'll be watching the growth of ViVV Labs with great enthusiasm.